All right, well, I was walking back into my apartment after going and working out this morning. I thought about something that really bothered me. So, one of my next door neighbors has this giant Jeep Wrangler with like 40-inch tires and a winch on the front of it, and it's all decked out like it's ready to take on an apocalypse. And I thought to myself, she looks like she's about 20 something years old, doesn't have a care in the world. And this reality hit me is that she either has too much money or too much free time. Because you don't build a vehicle like that just because you want to. She's got the front of it covered in little toys, the whole dashboard in front, and it's just decked out. But I thought, you know what? I will never get to own anything like that. In fact, I was talking to one of the top level people in the corporation about 6 weeks ago. He drives the same thing, a Jeep Wrangler with a V8 in it. I think they call it a 396 or something like that. I forget. But he drives this monstrous machine to work. And I thought, these people have too much money. They're ridiculous. Because then I can walk through the same parking lot and identify all the poor people that work at Evil Corp. Like that girl that works on the other side of me in the south side of the building in the far corner. She sometimes drives up, parks her Promobile right next to mine, and I can tell the four donuts, the scraped up paint, the faded headlamps, the inside, the interior of the 1990s. This is a true Promobile. A vehicle designed hopefully to get you from point A to point B. She's also a really simple person. She has a regular 40-hour work week on weekends and at night. She works her second job in retail. She's never going to be rich, but you can tell the difference. And that's where I'm going with this. My next door neighbor doesn't work a lot. She doesn't have to. She has money. She has free time. She has the ability to enjoy her life. And that's what I was thinking when I was writing my home that last night from my last year at college when I finally finished everything I needed for my education and was perhaps going to go on to grad school. But as you well know, that didn't happen. Instead, I had to go work at Walmart. Like, I guess the troll that I was always meant to be. I remember trying to adjust myself to life outside of academics because it was going to be the first time that I was going to be working long term in a crap job. I mean, sure, my jobs in college were crap, but at least I didn't have to clean toilets. But there was a lot of toilet cleaning after I got out of college, and it still bothers me to this day to even talk about it because it shows a life of total failure. Your life. Anyone who watches this channel understands what failure looks like in reality. Most of us don't have STEM degrees, and if we do, we're not using them because there's always someone better. In fact, yesterday while I was at the salon, I was talking to the lady, and I told her that it was entirely possible to go your entire life without getting a job. If you're sitting in a job interview like I have, you know, maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 job interviews in my whole life after applying to thousands of jobs, and no one's hiring you, and you know it's you, right? They acknowledge the fact that you're not coming into this minimum wage job to bust your hump or work like the owner. You're just there to make enough money to scrape by till you get your next paycheck or bucket of fish heads. And that attitude, well, it comes out in the job interview. They know that they would much rather not hire someone like you. They'd rather hire someone much younger, someone that still believes that someday they're going to make it. For the vast majority of people, we never make it. They told us education was the answer. So we took out loans, sat in classrooms, read the great thinkers, and believed we were building a future. But now I'm 25, broke, applying to jobs that pay less than the interest on my student debt. No one warned us that being smart wouldn't save us. That is very true. Being an educated person now means that you're just going to be an educated person working in the service industry because there are very, very few slots. Academic people don't leave. They get tenure and then they claw their way into a position that they can never be fired from. From beginning to end, you meet these people, and I've met them throughout my entire life. They've never done anything but work at a university, which is what I thought I was going to do. I wasn't preparing myself through my education to work in a warehouse, a grocery store, maybe a car wash. Who knows? The thousands of jobs for the lower class. I never thought that I was preparing myself for that when I was in school. I never imagined myself doing that. But yet, here we are, acknowledging the fact that you're probably too smart for a regular job, but your boss doesn't care. He thinks that you can live off 20 bucks an hour and that anyone that doesn't believe that shouldn't be working there. Any restaurant owner will tell you the same thing. Want to wait tables? $2.50 plus tips. Now, it's not just me thinking about this, but doesn't that really feel like a type of slavery to you? A type of circumstance that you put yourself into not because you want to, but because you have to. Desperation has put tens of millions of people into jobs they never thought they'd be doing. I never thought I'd be waking up every day at my age, putting on my chicken outfit, and going to work at Evil Corp every day. The thought had never crossed my mind. I thought, if anything, I was just passing through. And if there's something that really pissed off the general manager when I worked at Walmart was people who said this wasn't long term. If he overheard you saying, "Oh, this is just to get me through to my next job," he would fire you on the spot. He didn't like people who showed up at this job and treated the job like what it was, a dead end piece of crap that's going nowhere. That mentality to rich people is disgusting because it means that you still have a little bit of your soul left. And remember, when they want to make certain that you're going to stay there long term for next to nothing, they introduce you to the Soul Suck 3000 that reaches up deep inside of your hiney, sucks out whatever's left of your soul every single day and makes certain that you don't have a soul. Because the last thing they want is thinking that you can escape the wage cage. Talking point number one. College was marketed as the golden ticket to stability and respect. But in reality, millions of educated young adults are underemployed, working jobs they don't require a degree, are stuck in endless internship and gig work. The myth of if you work hard and get educated, you'll be successful has collapsed, replaced by a system that values obedience, connections, survival skills over actual knowledge, which is very true. Connections at Harvard, connections at any Ivy League school are going to ensure that you never end up working in a subway and that you wonder, how did this happen to me? There are so many times in my life where I've wondered, how did this happen to me? How did I end up at another Evil Corp job? Why does this keep happening to me? Why do I have the worst housing and I have to ride the bus? Why am I walking to work or biking to work? What happened? What went wrong? And that question keeps rolling around inside of your head. As you sit on a bus for 2 hours one way to go to Evil Corp, you have a lot of time to think about how you failed at life and how there's a double standard between the men that are riding the bus and the women that are riding the bus. Because there are as many lady losers out there as there are men losers. And you have to ask yourself, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Why do I live here? Why do I ride a bus? Why am I a total failure? And then you start to wonder, it's like other people can see me failing at life. It's not like I'm failing quietly and invisible. We have millions upon millions of middle aged men who who are currently wearing a chicken outfit at a drive-thru, wondering how they're going to get out of this. Some may have just fallen out of senior level work at some evil corp that saw that they needed to increase revenue by getting rid of their human inventory. And out you went, just like that. And now you're out here with no job, no prospects, wondering what you're going to do in order to make money. Because the minimum wage is never going to provide a life for anyone. The minimum wage, as I've said this for 20 years now on YouTube, is the minimum wage was designed to keep you, give you a job. Let's just put it that way. It's not meant to keep you fed or keep you clothed or keep you happy. I would say that the minimum wage is actually a punishment. That any job under $50 an hour is a punishment to anyone who can't achieve, any person who can't thrive in society, leaving the 99% as complete and total losers. Talking point number 2. Society pits college versus trade school like it's a real choice, but both often lead to exhaustion and poverty in different uniforms. Liberal arts majors are told they're overeducated for minimum wage jobs, while trade workers are told their bodies are disposable. Either way, the outcome is the same: stagnant wages, no benefits, and no way out. Boy, ChatGPT really knows me at this point. It's written 600 scripts for me. I believe it knows me better than I know myself. But it's true. Every time that you go and you apply at a minimum wage job, you have to make certain that they don't know about your education. Because if they know, they're going to know that you're looking for a better job. And the last thing they want to do is waste more time training someone that doesn't plan on staying. Because it does take time to train people, even for the crappiest of crap jobs. You still have to learn how to do that job, even if you don't plan on staying there. And so during the learning process, if you can't adapt fast enough to learn whether you're working at fast food inside of a grocery store, if you're touching food, you need to learn what you're doing, because I would really appreciate if you would wash your hands regularly if you're going to handle food. Just a suggestion, but you can do whatever you want, but just know that people are putting that food inside their pie holes. But how do we put this? The outcome is the same. And that's the hardest part about being an educated person myself, is the outcome's the same. And sometimes you meet people like the lady at the salon yesterday that I'll never see again because she had to move to lower income housing on the other side of the Phoenix metro area. And you think, she spent tens of thousands of dollars to go to school, to learn, to go to beauty school and learn to do what she does. And when she applied for her own job, she didn't she didn't qualify. And that's something that I've always been fascinated by, because she told me this yesterday. It's like, I tried to apply for a job here with this company, but they were doing other interviews and they chose someone else. That's kind of also where this video was inspired from, is they chose someone else. And sometimes when they choose someone else, it may be that they're younger. It may be that their personality's better. It may be that they just like the other person better. I mean, they don't have to come out and flat out tell you, hey, you know what? You can't compete with this other person. This other person is charming, they're kind, and they're more attractive, and they're better educated. You never had a chance. But people still feel let down by the system. And that's what I heard in her voice yesterday. She was let down by the system that she was currently working in. Because years ago, when I was working at the university, they did this to all the staff, right? Usually a state job at a state university means that you're going to have job security because it's a state job. Well, the university got wise to that. So if you weren't in academics, if you were a staff member and not an academic person, they decided to switch everyone over. Tens of thousands of jobs that were transformed. Let's put it that way. They were transformed from state jobs to annual contract jobs. So if they fired you, they still had to pay you out your contract, but it was still better than being stuck with you as a state worker with state worker rights, because that meant that they practically couldn't get rid of you. And after they transformed everyone to contract, they quickly got rid of the trash. I know many people that were very close to retirement that had the retirement stolen from them. People that to this day are still very angry at what happened to them because they spent their entire lives working towards retirement, towards 20 years in a state job and then getting full retirement. Well, once they switched you over to 1 year contract, remember to save money. Then you didn't get that opportunity anymore. And they started getting rid of people, and it no longer became a job that people wanted. State jobs are typically have so much job security that people actively seek them out. People will take a pay cut to work in a state job because they know there's stability and there's retirement, something we no longer have in our society. You and I both know that we will not retire. People like us will end up making a foul odor in some corner of Evil Corp when we finally breathe our last breath and someone has to take us out like uh, trash that was left over on the weekend that you smell Monday morning. That's where we're all heading because we can't stop working. And obviously, our bodies are disposable to Evil Corp. It's always been true. I mean, that needed to be solidified during the pandemic as our essential workers were required to to continue working even though all the other workers, I guess the non-essential workers, could work from home or collect unemployment benefits. Let's get into talking point number 3 before I run out of time though. It's not just about the money. It's about the shame. Educated people aren't supposed to be broke. That's the narrative. So when you are, they internalize it as failure. The depression, anxiety, and burnout that follow are rarely discussed, even though an entire generation is suffering in silence with student loan debt, low pay, and a crushed expectations for what their lives are supposed to be. That's how I wake up every morning. I keep wondering, it's like, when are things going to change for me? And I've gotten to my age, and you have to come to the realization that there's no marriage, there's no car, there's no mortgage. Your credit cards are destroying you financially. And what did you buy with those credit cards? Groceries, paid your electric bill, paid your phone bill, paid your cable bill. That's what you did with your credit cards. You weren't racking up thousands of dollars worth of debt on expensive luxury items. You were trying to stay afloat on a job that doesn't want you to be alive. And that's the worst part, is that these jobs out here at every evil corp in America, they know what the cost of living looks like. They know that the wages they pay don't amount to the cost of living. Every time you see the price go up for something, you take into consideration that that's another shot on the chin that you're going to have to take. Every time that you look at your phone bill, your electric bill, or your gas bill, and you think, oh my God, what am I going to do now? When groceries are competing directly with what your car payment is every month, or even more, what are you supposed to do? Asking for a raise in corporate America right now is telling them that it's your current pay is inadequate, something that they will not take lightly. Nearly every magazine article that I've read in the last year, if you need to ask for a raise right now because you're not getting by on what you're making, you might as well go somewhere else, because that's what they're going to tell you to do. Because in their response, they'd like to hire someone cheaper, more disposable, and with no benefits. That's happening everywhere. I've been telling you guys this for a year. They want to not pay benefits at all. They don't want workers. They want cheap, disposable machines that don't open their mouths, that don't eat, that don't need a place to sleep. They just want robots. And if you start sticking your hand out, then that's a robot behaving badly that needs to be removed. All right, let's get into our final closing monologue here, and then we'll be done. The worst part isn't just the money, it's the silence. The way everyone pretends this is normal, like we're supposed to be grateful for scraps because we have a degree. But I refuse to believe that dreaming big should come with a lifetime of financial punishment. If you're educated, struggling, and feel invisible, you're not alone. You're not crazy. The system is. And maybe, just maybe, speaking that truth out loud is the first step to taking something back. I love that call to action that ChatGPT tries to incorporate into every single thing that it writes for me, because I don't believe in it. I don't believe there are solutions to our problems. If there were solutions, they would find ways of making certain that those solutions weren't there. For instance, the wage cage has walls that are so thick that you will never see the light of day from inside the wage cage. You will never be able to escape. There's no ladder out of the wage cage. In fact, there's only one way out of the wage cage. There's a trap door in the bottom of the wage cage. And when you do not provide the productivity that your employer is looking for, the trap door opens and you're released from the wage cage right into the gutter.